I was born and raised in Taipei, Taiwan, and I came to the States when I was 11 years old for 6th grade. At the time in Fremont, California, where my family landed, Asian Americans were maybe 3% of the population. So it was a lot of adjustment to understand other cultures and, everything from diet to like what's trending to watching MTV to understand what the popular music is. In Taiwan, if you have good grades, if you are studious, if you're well behaved, then you're popular. Like you are voted to be the class president or leadership. But in the States, you actually have to be cool, and there's a lot bigger emphasis in sports. My mom and her friends, they buy these clothes for us from Asia. People talk about how you have the FOBs, the fresh off the boat immigrant people would wear clothes with English language that doesn't make any sense. I literally had shirts and clothing like that. I took a part-time job at Shanky Bakery at the age of 14 in 8th grade. So I could have money to go shopping. I remember I would go to Macy's a lot, and I would start to look for clothes with the brand names or with the looks that would help me to fit in. I didn't really embrace this identity being Asian American really until very recently. Really always still felt like I was more, I don't know if I want to call myself Taiwanese or Chinese, because that to me now is not necessarily my identity. But I would go to Taiwan every summer. So that was where I felt like I was gonna eventually move back to have my career in media production. And I was, doing my networking there every summer and winter. But I think it all tied in with me having my own children. And I teach my children that they also need to learn Mandarin and their roots. Everything they're provided for comes from the hard work of generations prior. There's a Chinese saying called 饮水思源, meaning when you're drinking this water, you think about where it comes from, like where that stream comes from. For many years in America, we're minority, and although we are maybe some of the most accomplished, we just never learned to be vocal. We never really learned to have a voice. We're just at this time and this space where we can really explore what this identity of being Asian American means. We don't always have to think we're Asian or American. In the Bible, there are more defined concept of identity, that we're fearfully, wonderfully made. We're children of God. When I do my speaking engagements for outreach, I encourage those kids to look at the Bible as a mirror. If they want to know how they really look like, they go to the Bible to look at what God says who they are. They'll just know that at the end of the day, you are loved just for who you are. And I think with that, then there's courage and there's compassion on our own selves, and then to extend that same love and acceptance to others around us. I think every story should be shared and heard, and therefore by means of God giving us each a voice, and our job, part of evangelizing, is to share who we are, share our story, because we have the right and the voice and the encouragement by God to do so.